Greetings everyone, and welcome to a special DVD update on the Multimedia Chronicles. Yes, you heard that right. DVD. I know. DVDs in this day and age? Well, the simple fact of the matter is there's still a lot of stuff out there that hasn't made its way to the world of high def, so you can only get them on DVD. A lot of these titles I waited and waited, but just no sign of a Blu-ray in sight, so I thought, well, I guess it's time to stop waiting and get these before you can't get them anymore. So what we have today is a selection of 5 short-lived sci-fi TV shows. Yeah, all of which are ones that I've had my eye on for ages and have been wanting to get into the collection forever, and finally pulled the trigger on them. So let's check them out. Short-lived sci-fi TV shows on DVD today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, a couple of these are based on movies. They're TV shows that were inspired by movies. The first of which, I loved the movie that this was based on. And I gotta say, if you've never seen the TV series and you're a fan of the movie like I am, do yourself a treat and pick this up, because it's actually a really good show. Sadly, it only lasted 1 season, but it was a full season of 22 episodes. So, you know, it's a good compact length without being too short. We have Starman, the complete series. Now, the movie, of course, starred Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. Jeff Bridges playing the alien who takes on human form and has to get back to the crater to get back home. But while he's there, he learns a lot about what it means to be human and such. And he and Karen Allen's character have a kid together. So she gets pregnant, and then it just kind of leaves off there. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, this picks up 14 years later, where the alien comes back, and in this case takes on the form of the body of a dead photographer, and is played by Robert Hayes. Yes, of Airplane fame. Really interesting, and actually really shows his range as an actor, because this is a much different role than what you may have seen him in before, and not easy to fill Jeff Bridges' shoes, especially in that movie, because he was fantastic in that. And but I gotta say, Robert Hayes does a terrific job of kind of picking up where the character in the movie left off. Still maintains a lot of that sort of stranger in a strange land aspect. And yeah, so in this one, Jenny Hayden, who was the woman, has disappeared, and her son, now 14 years old, was adopted by a foster family that was then killed in a car crash. So when Mr. Alien Dude shows up, his son is in like an orphanage, essentially, like a care facility, and so they meet up, and he, says, "Yeah, I'm actually your father," and nobody would tell him who his father was or anything about him, and so there's all this mystery about who his father was. So when he shows up, and he starts to learn about his alien side, like his alien heritage, and he actually does have some special abilities that he inherited from his father's side. But Jenny Hayden has gone missing. So it becomes like a road trip series, like one of those things where we gotta find Jenny. It's one of those types of shows, but it works really well, because you get this wonderful sort of father-son dynamic as he's trying to learn about both his human and alien sides, and he's teaching him about his alien side. It's just a really, really good series. Like, I thought it was a really terrific continuation of the movie. So let's take a quick look at the packaging and the discs, and you can get a bit of a closer look at it here. So a very nice shot of him with he has these glowing spheres that give him various abilities, and his son has one as well that was given to him by his father. And then on the back there you can see just a few shots from the show, and you actually get a little proper description about the series. His son is actually played by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who was actually quite an up-and-coming young artist at the time. So looking inside, yeah, you can see that there's not like much special about the disc labels there. And they are indeed DVD-Rs. They're burned discs. When I get DVD-R titles like this, like manufacturer on demand titles, I usually rip the discs immediately because I don't trust DVD-Rs to stand the test of time. So yeah, take that as you will. And there we go. So Starman, the complete series. So once again, this is all 22 episodes, and sadly, that's all they made. I don't know if I actually saw all of them. I know I watched a good chunk of this when it was originally on. Both my mother and I were huge fans of the original movie and really enjoyed the show quite a bit. Next up, we have another very short-lived, in this case, show based on a pair of movies. You might remember Westworld from back in the day, and then, of course, its sequel, Future World. And I'm sure most of you have at least a passing familiarity with the recent HBO series of Westworld. Well, some of you may not know there was another TV series of Westworld done a couple years after Future World.
And now the regular
Beyond Westworld, yes. And it lasted a whole entire 5 episodes. So short, you could binge it all in one sitting and not even need a pee break. So let's take a quick closer look at this one. So yeah, co-starring the lovely Connie Selica.
Well then, I seem to have lost a chunk of footage of when I was going over stuff for the closer look. So here's the front cover. Isn't it lovely? I was just about to say, Connie Selica, I of course knew primarily from The Greatest American Hero. And here we can see the back cover, and if you'd like to read the description there, you can feel free to pause the video there.
Yeah, so some very nice disc art on there, actually. And you can see very clearly on the labels which episodes are on which discs. So episodes 1 to 3 on the first disc, and 4 and 5 on the second disc. And being Warner Archive DVD releases, these are burned discs as well. And that is Beyond Westworld. I have seen the first episode of this. I remember they included it as a bonus on, I think it was the Blu-ray for Future World. It wasn't upgraded to high def or anything. It was just standard def thrown on as an extra. But it always got me curious about the show because I thought, you know, it was a decent enough premise. They were fighting this evil industrialist guy who was trying to use robots to infiltrate various things. It very much continued the ideas that were begun in Future World. So, but I guess it just didn't resonate with viewers enough, so it's got canceled after 5 episodes. That's not even half a season. That's like a quarter of a season. Like, man, fail, but that's okay. I don't mind a little short-lived gem like that. Next up, we have one that I've been wanting to check out for ages. I have seen a little bit of it. It is not a great show, to be honest. It's very cheesy and definitely stretches credibility. But there's just a charm about it that you can't deny. Plus, the special effects are really cool, and it's definitely the main reason to watch this. We have Automan from the producers of Tron, and you probably notice very much uses the same kind of effects. Basically, it wasn't CG. It was actually backlighting, where they'd be wearing a suit with certain elements that would, you know, they'd have the light, the colored light project through. So it's very much the same kind of photographic techniques that were used for Tron, but in a TV series. So this one lasted 13 episodes, so it had a good, like, full half season, which isn't a bad length for a short-lived show like this. So let's take a quick look at this one. So this was actually put out by Shout Factory as part of a series of releases they were putting out of short-lived TV shows. It is not burned discs. Yeah, unfortunately, as you can see, it's one of those packages that has all the discs stacked on top of each other. Really no reason to do that. It's only 4 discs. There are 4 disc keep cases that you don't have to stack them. They're just trays, but anyway. We do have this nice little pamphlet that comes with it that basically gives you summaries of all the episodes. And a couple of nice pictures there of the Automan himself. And there you go. So, you know, one I've been wanting to check out for a while. I somehow missed this when it was on, but I guess that's not surprising considering it only ran like half a season and was probably on during a lot of other shows that I watched at the time. It does have a nice lengthy 42-minute featurette, though, with a lot of the original creators and all kinds of additional featurettes and whatnot. So not a bad little set for Automan fans and also for Tron fans who are kind of curious about some of the other stuff that was done using the same special effects technology. Now, you may have noticed there was also a trailer on here for a show called Manimal. Well, that's the other one I got. Yes. This one I actually used to watch. My mom and I were big fans of this one, starring Simon macorkindale and featuring transformation effects that I was always fascinated by. I was always really interested in practical effects and makeup effects and stuff like that as a kid. And when did this come out? It was 1983. Yeah, so this would have been around the same time that I saw An American Werewolf in London for the first time. And I was always really blown away by the werewolf transformation sequence in that. So to see a TV series where they'd be doing transformations like that, in this case he would turn into various types of animals and use that power to help solve crimes and whatnot. But to see that week after week was just so cool to me. It's like, wow, they're doing like those cool transformation effects, but in a TV show. Now, you got to understand there was a huge divide between TV and movies at the time, especially in terms of special effects. So to see something like that on a weekly TV series was just too cool to me. So let's take a quick look at the Manimal set from Shout Factory. So here's the front, where you see the Manimal himself, and an example of one of the transformation sequences where he would turn into a black leopard. That one was quite common. He could turn into a few other animals as well. I don't recall all of them. I think one of them was a bird, and yeah. Anyway, if we take a look on the back, yeah, so this one lasted 8 episodes, so very short-lived, but it's one that I always remembered and loved. And we got a nice interview with Glenn Larson. Oh, look, a trailer for Automan. So let's open it up, and yeah, sure enough, stack again. Yeah, I guess that was just the thing that Shout Factory was doing at the time. But I gotta say, like, look at this booklet. We got quite a lot of stuff in this booklet, which is quite cool. I was surprised it had such a robust booklet with it. I mean, you wouldn't expect that from such a short-lived, obscure show. Yeah, apparently they got a lot of help from the fans on this one, from SimonMacorkindale.net, which I guess is a fan site all about the man himself and his career. And yeah, quite a lot of interesting stuff in that book, so pretty cool. So that is Manimal. Yeah, good stuff. Definitely looking forward to checking this one out again. Lots of happy memories, even though I don't really remember much about the show, because of course I literally haven't seen it since it was on, so that's like 42 years ago. But yeah, looking forward to checking this one out again. It's been on my radar for quite a while. Now, last but most certainly not least, this is one that I had many moons ago. Picked it up in a bargain bin for a song and a dance, and then sold it thinking I could get it again. You know, times are tough. You sell some stuff. Oh, that kind of rhymed. And well, of course, it was never reprinted. There was only ever the one printing of it. We have the 2003 version of the Twilight Zone. Yes, so as you guys will know if you've been watching my videos for a while, I have the Blu-ray set of the original 50s series of the Twilight Zone and then the DVD set of the 80s series, both of which I watched quite a bit as a kid, especially the 80s show. And I remember when I picked this one up, Annetta and I, when we were still together at the time, we really enjoyed this. It's hosted by Forrest Whitaker, and only ran one season, but it was one season of 43 episodes, so it's like the equivalent of 2 normal seasons. So, you know, even though it didn't last beyond that, you still got quite a chunk of episodes here. So let's take a little look at this one. It's actually a pretty nice set. So yeah, just taking a look at the list of celebrities that are in this thing, it's crazy. So here's the front. And if you look on the back, look at that even bigger list of celebrities. I mean, there's so many familiar faces in this. And I remember it being actually pretty good. Oh, I guess it was 2002 and 2003. And then the set came out in 2004. Anyway, so we opened it up. And as you can see, it's basically one of those big book-style presentations. And then you get this nice little pamphlet that gives you a disc-by-disc breakdown of what's on each disc and a little blurb about each episode. So the whole series is on 6 discs, so I guess that's an average of 7 episodes per disc, so pretty decent bit rate on those. So yeah, I had been wanting to get this one back in the collection for the the Twilight Zone section for quite some time, but every time I looked it up, it was just prohibitively expensive. So kept looking around and finally found it for a pretty decent price, actually far lower than what I typically see it go for on the aftermarket. It's not in absolutely pristine condition. I mean, we've got some sticker residue there, which I can probably pick that off with a bit of effort. A little bit of shelf wear on there, but really I can't complain. Just given how obscure this set is, I was happy just to find it again for a decent price and finally have it back in the collection. So let's take a quick final look here. So we got Starman and Beyond Westworld and Manimal and Automan. And there we go. Yeah, you can see all those. So, not a bad little selection of short-lived sci-fi TV. Definitely some good viewing there. And a few that are so short, you could easily bang them out in a couple of sittings. There's a lot of other short-lived shows that I really wish would get releases like this. And I remember when these started to appear, I got hopeful that some of them would also be released. Shows like Man and Machine with Yancey Butler. That was such a great show. It only ran 9 episodes, so I mean it could easily be put out in a set like this. Otherworld, which was a story about a family that went to a pyramid for a vacation and got sucked into a parallel Earth where they're pursued by Jonathan Banks. Yes, of Breaking Bad and Wise Guy fame. Great show. Only lasted 8 episodes. Oh, there's one that Disney did back in 1989. Thank God I taped it because it's never been repeated, called Hard Time on Planet Earth, starring Martin Kove, who most of you guys would probably know from the Karate Kid movies and Cobra Kai series. But in this one, he actually played a very likable character, very reminiscent of Starman, actually. He was a sort of a warrior in some far-off galaxy, and for committing various crimes against his people and heinous war crimes and such. They don't really go into too much detail about it because it was a Disney show. He gets sentenced to hard time on planet Earth, so he has to take on human form and, you know, do good deeds to as his punishment, essentially. So, but in doing so, he, you know, learns what it means to be human and to be a better person. But it very much has the same kind of stranger in a strange land vibe that Starman did, and I think that's why I liked it so much. Plus, I mean, it was a rare, like, starring role turn for Martin Cove, which was great to see. Of course, I knew him from the Karate Kid movies, and it was terrific just to see him in a hero role for a change, you know? Or how about The Highwayman with Sam Jones and Jacko Jackson and Jane Badler and Tim Russ? Like, you never hear about that show. It was basically a mix of like almost like Knight Rider and Mad Max. Took place in this near future dystopian kind of world, and damn, it was good. It had a TV movie that also co-starred Jimmy Smits, and then it went on to a regular series which only lasted 8 episodes. But I watched that every week, and I thought it was just fantastic. It had a semi-truck that could turn into a helicopter. Jacko Jackson, if you don't know the name, you might remember him from those Energizer commercials where he was the screaming Australian guy. He was actually a footballer from Australia, and this was his, you know, turn, you know, trying out acting and stuff like that. And Sam Jones, of course, you would know from Flash Gordon. Yeah, so great show, highly underrated. I absolutely love it. It touched on various sci-fi things. It had this great time travel story in one episode where they went back and tried to prevent there was like some kind of atomic test that ripped open a hole in the fabric of space and time, so it ended up being like a portal back to the past. And they had to chase this guy into the past who was trying to prevent the nuclear test and stuff. It's great stuff. I loved that show so much. I would love to see it get some kind of a DVD release, but alas, it ain't nowhere to be seen. Well, again, thank goodness I taped most of them, and then I found the few that I'd missed from other fans. But man, there's a lot of great like short-lived gems. Like, just because a show didn't last doesn't mean it sucked, you know. Sometimes there's some good stuff out there that just didn't find its audience in time, and the network pulled the plug on it. So what are you going to do? Well, thank goodness we at least have some of those short-lived gems represented on physical media, and well, here's hoping that we see a few more down the road. Anyway, that is it for me to you for now. Hope you enjoyed. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.